New year, new show. Let's talk about power rankings. We're going to be doing a power 10 every week. First, we're going to do teams, and then we'll have a couple special categories for different roles, different responsibilities, and potentially even orgs in generic. We'll see what comes out of it, but for now, we're starting off with two classics, AWPers and Riflers. Now, it has been a pretty interesting start to the season. The Blast Bounty format has produced a few interesting matchups. Matchups you don't really expect to see a tier 1 event with nice production. I mean, Astralis Wildcard. This is kind of a CCT playoff kind of matchup historically, but instead we're watching it here at a pro level. FlyQuest playing MIBR feels very opening stage of the majory. Instead, we get to watch it now, see the new Regali. It's a pretty interesting game. We're going to be talking about how these results influence the rankings, but this is a power rankings. It's going to be very dynamic, very week-to-week dependent, based on results, based on how teams play, and also based on the history coming in when we're talking about a brand new season. We begin the Power 10 with the teams, and at number 10, it's Eternal Fire. It just has to be. Last year, sure, they didn't win anything huge. They made a couple of grand finals only, but this is the 10th ranked team in the world. They just have to be very dangerous. The kind of team that knocks you out of the groups when you don't expect it. You know, the kind of team that a Na'Vi can lose to 5 times a year and not make it into playoffs. That kind of roster. And they are still quite dangerous with Xantares, with Woxic providing a lot of their firepower, but then you also have to factor in Lucadia and Jota. They definitely deserve to be in the top 10 teams. A powerful roster with a lot of threat remaining. If they get it right, they could skyrocket up the power rankings week by week, just taking scalps and using their aim. At number 9, we have Mongols. Of course, they have to be here. They've almost become a perennial playoff threat, like they're going to make playoffs at almost every event. That's terrifying. Now, I have them here just because they didn't make any changes, and sure, they're stable, and I like everything about the pieces. I'm just going to be very reactive with all this, and given the moves other teams have made, I think it keeps them above them for now. And the fact that Mongols haven't really made a big event grand final yet, I think limits their ceiling, but they're definitely a little more threatening than Eternal Fire just because of the strategies they have and what was already working is still there. I just think there's a couple teams who are more fun, more dynamic right now. Now, a team that I do find a little more dynamic, a little more fun, a little more interesting, is a team who've just made a change. That's number 8, that's Liquid. Now, we still have questions about how the entry volume is going to be managed by Twist, by Nerds. So far, that seems to be the two players taking the brunt of the responsibility. But honestly, at the end of the day, firepower is firepower, and they've got so much of it on the rifle front. Yes, we still have question marks about how good their AWPer is, but considering the level of AWPing on a lot of teams right now is actually a little disappointing. I think they're in a great spot. They're going to keep on challenging teams. They're going to keep winning games. They've already won their first game of the year in Blast Bounty. Not a huge matchup, but still nice to get off on the right foot. I have belief in this Liquid lineup. At number 7, I have a team who are a little lower than they should want to be, given their names, their pedigree, the skill ceiling they've shown us, the level of play they can call. That's Mouse. Honestly, it feels a bit disappointing to have them so low, but when I talk about the top 6 teams, I want these teams to all be winning events. And until Xerxin shows me he can do that, I don't believe in Mouse. They live and die off Xerxin when it comes to big playoff games against tough teams who have great riflers and great AWPers. You need to be able to bang them off their spots. He just hasn't been able to do it with any consistency. They have a couple of scalps to show off from last year. We're like, hey, look at who we beat. It wasn't done with anywhere near the consistency we needed. I'm putting a hard ceiling on Mouse until Xerxin essentially becomes one of the best riflers. He has been on the aggregate of the year, but he hasn't been in the playoffs, and that's the problem. At number 6, we have a bit of a surprise addition. I don't think a lot of people have much faith in Falcons, given a lot of the sort of branding that's been given to them by the community of like, oh, this is just the same thing again, but this time it's Nico. Well, no, it's not. It's really not. It's a far more CS2 focused roster, a team that has been productive in CS2 last year in the heroic core. We've got a better support player than they used to have, and we've got, on top of it, a massive upgrade at the star rifle position. Now, their first game of the year, they played against Ents, and that is not the most convincing win you want to have over a bunch of kids that are geriatrics, but it's still a win. It's still a good start. We saw the right players fragging. Some people had doubts about Tessus being able to hang at this level. And honestly, I kind of rate this Ents roster. So the fact that it was a close game doesn't bother me. I still think they're going to be probably a title contending team. Honestly, just based off what I've literally just seen. I had them in my tiers as probably a playoff team. I thought they'd lose the game against Ents. They won that game. I'm starting to believe more and more in Nico as a star rifle again, because he is coming off a team where he wasn't as prioritized on T side. He wasn't as important to G2's T side wins. So I think G2 are actually going to be fine, by the way. And I think in Falcons, he's going to unleash again. We're going to get another year of Nico's prime. Will we get another year after that? We'll have to wait and find out. But fucking hell, this has been enough, Nico. You've done more than most players could ever dream of in terms of having prime years. This might be the last one, but hell, make it a good one. Before we get into the top 5, I have a little question for you. Are you tired of looking like a chump in game? Sick of opening cases and getting trash skins? Check out Skin Club via my link in the description for a 7% deposit bonus. For gamers 18 or older, Skin Club is a case opening service who run a provably fair opening algorithm to give you truly random outcomes. Skin Club's battles mode has been upgraded, adding new things like crazy, team, and share modes just to make every roll a little more intense and a little more fun. I played a battle or two and managed to win some pretty crazy skins, and upgraded a group of them into a gorgeous MP9 hot rod. Perfect for some gold stickers. There is an awards event going on right now, so you can earn event points just by playing on the site. These points can be redeemed for cases, skins, and entries into huge giveaways. Skin Club accept a wide variety of payment methods, from cards and PayPal to skins themselves, as well as a range of crypto coins. Remember to play responsibly using the self-care tools provided, and use my link in the description to get a 7% bonus. A big thank you to Skin Club for supporting my channel. At number 5, I have Vitality, and I thought I'd have them higher, but I'm just not quite sure about it yet. I need to see more evidence that the problem truly was Spinks in all the ways that are being intimated to me. I need to see Rops on this team make a playoff and just cruise through it. I want it to be easy breezy, and then I'll start being, all right, cool. We've matched the ceiling we saw at Cologne last year, where this team has the firepower, has the pieces to just cruise to wins. I want to see it now repeated so I can believe in it happening consistently. For now, Vitality will have to be at number 5 because it's a new change to the roster. It's not a roster that I think is massively upgraded in firepower or anything like that, so I do have to sort of hard cap it in terms of how much I believe in it. But it should be interesting to see what they give us in the coming year. They still have Zywoo. Sure, he's had some playoff struggles, but hey, apparently it's all Spinks' fault, so let's see what happens. At number 4, I have Na'Vi. I thought I'd have them higher, but honestly, the end of the year really soured it for me. And it should have soured Na'Vi's year for everyone else, but apparently it fucking didn't. Gave them every single award possible except Opener of the Year, which, thank the heavens, if they'd given Immo or someone like that Opener of the Year, I'd have flipped my shit. It was bad enough. They gave JL Closer of the Year, Bit Anchor of the Year, Yimfat, Monacy, who are they? Never heard of them. Just give it to the team who won 4 events. It can't be 4. No, it's just 4. Right, fuck it, why not? So yeah, Na'Vi, number 4, because, yeah, they haven't made any changes. I still believe in their IGL and their coach. I believe those are the 2 awards they should have won. All the individuals getting treated like true star players was nonsense, but that's not the point here. I think Na'Vi kick on, take a few early scouts, maybe an early event or 2, but I think over the course of the year they'll realize they are short on firepower. They're going to be outgunned by a lot of rosters who are getting, you know, the balance of roles right again, who already had star fraggers but just had a couple pieces that didn't quite make sense. You know, teams like FaZe, teams like Vitality. If those changes they've made are as impactful as we believe they are, Na'Vi are going to get left in the dirt. Number 3, FaZe. Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm buying in. I'm buying all the stock I can. I had a Liege as quite a high-rated player last year. I think I had him like 11th or 10th and 11th, somewhere in that range. I can't remember exactly where I had him. I had him around the same range I had Nerds. As a true star rifler, who can be the number 1 option on a team in CS2, take all those frags, win all those fights, and carry you to big wins. That was a Liege for me. He's now on FaZe, a team who lacked a star who was aggressive. They had 2 star riflers who were both far too passive for my liking, weren't willing to take the right risks. A Liege is that guy. This all makes sense. They still have a great caller in Karrigan. Honestly, if you had an IGL tier list in this video, or an IGL power ranking rather, Karrigan would at worst be 3. That's how well he ended the year. I think FaZe are dead set to go and win, let's say, 4 big events. I give them 4 big events. There's more big events this year to go around. I'm not sure they'll be team of the year, but I can give them 4, especially if, you know, the teams I have ahead of them are missing events or skipping them to play something else. Yeah, FaZe have got a really great ceiling coming into this year. Unleash is going to improve them a lot. They still have quality pieces elsewhere. I'm a big believer. And number 2, G2. Now, they just lost Nico. How can this possibly be? Well, having Nico is kind of what hindered MalbsMD, who is the next guy up. MalbsMD was so good on T-side and hit ridiculous shots after ridiculous shot. It was actually impossible. Some of the rounds he won for G2 on the T-side, just in his openers. Now sure, G2 on the back end then had a different guy closing rounds if the openings were squandered or if the openings weren't found. And that was Monacy, the closer of the year, to be honest, last year, but hey, whatever. Muncie is still the second best player in the world. I think he will be throughout this year at worst. We'll see if Donk can maintain his form. I'm sure he will, but we have to fucking see it before we believe it. This is a team who've unleashed Heavy God, who's an absolute unit of a fragger in his own right, but plays complementary roles to Malb's MD. I don't see why they wouldn't be productive. It might take them a second or two to get started up, and that's my only concern. That's honestly my only concern with a lot of teams who've made one roster. Maybe it takes a second or two to gel, but I'm putting my balls on the line here. Please don't chop them off. G2, number 2. I want to see some title wins. At number 1, we do have Team Spirit for obvious reasons. They just won the major. They looked insane. They have the best player in the world. They have one of the best AWPers in the world. They have, honestly, a slightly underrated coach and caller. I mean, I have been very critical of their coach, especially because he comes out in interviews like, oh, I got the mental prep wrong over and over again when they had disappointing events last year. Disappointing mostly meant going out in the round of 8, round of 6, occasionally the round of 4, not dropping out in groups every other event, like the supposed team of the year, but whatever. Spirit, for me, just in terms of power ranking, have to be number 1. They've got the most dominant player who plays the meta-defining style as an aggro rifler. This is an easy pick. Right, now onto our 2 special categories, and we're going to go relatively fast with these 2 because I don't think there's as much to say. AWPs is first up. Now, AWPer is sort of a reviving role. I think it's starting to come back to life. Still not as important as the aggro rifler on the team, but certainly critical. Number 10, I have Device. Yes, I'm buying into the Astralis hype. I don't have them top 10 yet. I still need to see them win some real games, but I have Device up there. That opening map was sensational, and that's been his ceiling this entire time. So, Device number 10. Number 9, 910. Honestly, when he's on, he's as good as anyone. When he's off, honestly, it's very flat. And that's when Mongols are not as dangerous, not as scary. That's why they're the number 9 team in the world. It's because 910 has those peaks. Number 8, I have Ultimate. This is the one pick I don't love. I don't love it, but I have to make it because he's shown, ignoring the dip in events he had in the middle. Now, he started hot, ended hot, had a bit of a dip. He's more than capable of dominating a lot of AWPers who are far lower down the tier list. The question is, how punished can he get by the good teams? And that's sort of what limits his ceiling. That's why I have to keep him outside of, like, what I consider the really good AWPers. But to be fair, those don't start till number 6. Everyone below number 6 on the AWPer list has kind of got me sketched, and that's why we're in a relatively weak AWP meta right now. Now, speaking of which, at number 7, I do have Dexter, and he is on the rebound. But man, I'm still not quite there yet. I loved what I saw from him, obviously, pre that 2-year hiatus, and some of the events he's played with Heroic have been impressive. But some of them have just been not terrible, and that's been good enough, I guess, to get you through the dark times. Now on Falcons, he started off pretty strong. Falcons, obviously not the most convincing wins, but still, the level I saw at Dexter was part of what convinced me that they should actually be as high as they were in my power rankings. Dexter, still a lot to prove. We've seen a ceiling before. Can be very dangerous. At number 6, we have the most overranked player in the top 20, and that's wonderful. A man who did nothing to prove his value outside of his in-game leader system and calls, but honestly, that was more than enough. Just not making silly mistakes and tagging along in the fall season was enough. In spring season, the fact that he couldn't contribute anything beyond what the team made for him was a huge issue. As soon as they started losing, his ratings would plummet. If they won, his ratings were good. He was so extreme in his ratings. In the fall season, because everything clicked for the entire time, he kind of has to be given the credit of number 6, but this is a part of the reason why he's sliding. I think for a lot of people, prior to the last 2 events where they went out in groups, you might have had Wonderful above a couple of the guys ahead of him. For me, he slid down beneath them. Speaking of which, number 5, Torshi. Yeah, I have Torshi over Wonderful again. They're kind of a duo that just go back and forth, and Brokey will occasionally just dip past them just on the way down a slide before bouncing back up again, but these two are the battlers in terms of where they're seeded in the world, where they're thought of, what their ranking is. I have Torshi just ahead of Wonderful right now. This couldn't go either way, though, because Torshi's T-side and rifle struggles limit him, where Wonderful's rifle's actually pretty strong. It's just he doesn't ever do anything to go win rounds of his own accord, really. It's more of a system success than his. Torshi can win rounds single-handedly, but mostly on the CT side once he gets the AWP out. So it depends on who's in better form. Just coming into the video, really it's going to determine their placement. Number 4, Brokey. Yes, he does go shooting past people on the way down, but then back up again. He's Brokey. Spring last year, one of the best seasons anyone played, but then fall, almost one of the worst. He's just so up and down in terms of long periods of time last year. I still think the major showed me enough that I have him this year still ahead of those two. Even though at times, yeah, he was definitely lower than them. We'll see if he can keep it consistent. I think he will, and that's why Phaser number 3 for me. Brokey number 4. 3, Shiro. He's the best of the rest. There are two superstar AWPers, and I mean superstar AWPers right now. Shiro's the next guy down. Now, if he could bring back some of the like bigger clutches, 1v3s, 1v4s from Gambit days, or maybe just have more impact over like across the map, we'd have him higher. Unfortunately, he's not been that clutch. He's been clutch, probably more clutch than JL, but he's not done enough to really separate himself. Does everything solid, makes a lot of correct decisions. That's what allows him to be this high in the first place, but I still have him below the top two. Number two, these two are obvious, aren't they? Two is ZywOo. Not good enough in playoffs. That's the long and the short of it. Actually farmed studio lands to a ridiculous extent, so he has to be number two. Number one is m0NESY, the GOAT of the playoffs, an insane T-side clutch player. Again, I'm not going to harp too much on the closure of the year stuff, but my god, how did that guy not win it? Yeah, m0NESY's been outstanding. I think he still is coming into this year, and he's part of the reason why G2 are ranked so highly. He's a large part of the reason why G2 are ranked so highly. So yeah, those are the AWPers. And finally, we have the Riflers. Yes, this is going to be the most predictable list at the top, I think, but a bit of an interesting one on the way there. So number 10, I actually have Nafly, who's, again, he's always quietly doing shit. He's Nafly. Sloths don't move fast, but they do move silently until they fall off the branch. But that's not relevant right now. Naf, actually pretty productive. I'm very happy with how he's played recently. Number 9, Mabs MD. Should be higher. Number 8, Xantares. Actually an insanely skilled player. We know he should be, honestly, one of the GOATs of Counter-Strike if he was able to really play in international teams for longer. But instead, you know, played in big, then played in Turkish teams, so never truly got to show it all off. So, Xantares for me, number 8 coming into this year, because Eternal Fire are going to be stronger than they were last year, with more consistency, so he gets to show it off a lot more. 7, Bit. Yeah. A big fall-off for a lot of Na'Vi players at the end of the year, and Bit overall, the only one I really still like to watch. More iconic positions and plays across different maps. So far, he still does feel a little bit like an Inferno merchant, but still, Bit's hyper-productive and pretty elite. Number 6, FlameZ. I'm going to switch these two because I don't like their positioning. FlameZ is, I mean, he's getting more active roles and moments now on Vitality from what I saw of that Mirage game, especially yesterday. But he's still not given full star treatment, I don't think, just from what I can tell. But hell, if he can make it work with Rops, it'll be outstanding. Rops is also on this list, by the way, so they should have a lot going for them in the coming year. Rops will probably fall, though. Rops will probably fall as the year goes on, just because he won't be... I don't think he'll be quite the same player he was on FaZe, in terms of importance to Vitality's winning, but we'll see how that goes. Speaking of which, number 5 is Rops. So, yeah, the Master of the Micro had a rough time at the start of CS2, figured some stuff out with FaZe towards the end, and had a final event to just... creme de la creme, you know, it was beautiful. But overall, I think Rops could be higher based on his talent, but won't be due to his playstyle, and will probably slide in the coming months. But alright, number 4, Elige. I said I'm a big believer. I said I love what FaZe have done, how this is going to make them look, and how this makes them play. I haven't seen them play yet this year, but I think they'll work perfectly with Elige, and given the new role balance, I think it'll get more out of Frozen, and we'll get more out of Brokey, and we'll still have viable careers for Rain and Karrigan. Who'd have bloody thunk it? This will be outstanding, I think, for them. Elige is the perfect addition. He's going to dominate. Number 3, I have Nerds. More of the same, I think, and I said I believed in Liquid, and a lot of that comes down to Nerds being so highly rated for me. I'm a big fan of his. I think he's going to do a lot for them, even if he's not the perfect addition in terms of role for role, not quite as aggressive, not as many openings. They'll figure it out. They'll be a top 8 level team. We'll see if they can figure out to the extent to where they can push on further, but I think Nerds has the talent to really give them that option. Number 2. It's obviously Nico. Like, he's not been mentioned yet. There's no way he's going lower than 2. There's no way he's going higher than 2, though. That's the problem with him right now. Maybe he can show, like, an unlocked new higher level. I doubt it. And I think this is going to be... We're going to have the same number 1 for a while. Like, honestly, until a certain little academy kid finds his way into a main team, it's just going to be number 1 Donk, number 2 Nico. Well, actually, number 2 Nico might switch up. If he doesn't have the strongest performances, we could see strong levels out of Nerds, out of Elige. Honestly, who else got a chance to be that next star rifler? We see enough of Malbs, we see enough of Xantares throughout the year. They might climb. Nico might slide, but Donk at number 1 feels pretty permanent. He's been OP, but alright, that's the Power 10. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. That'd be nice. Leave a comment telling me your thoughts on any of these rankings, why I'm wrong. I mean, I don't agree, but maybe you make a convincing case. We'll see. Sub for more content. Remember, members get special privileges and more content. So yeah, cool. Bye-bye.